are devastated. Social media is in disarray, and the tension within the hospital is reaching a breaking point. What went wrong? Was this just a sudden health scare, or is there something more serious going on? The entertainment industry is in complete shock as Yandy Smith, the beloved reality TV star, is fighting for her life in the intensive care unit. Doctors are completely perplexed, and many see Harris by her side in despair. As doctors try to stabilize Yandy's condition, whispers of a shocking revelation inside the hospital hallways could change everything. As we process this unbelievable and heartbreaking turn of events, will Yandy survive? The family sources reveal terrifying details and secrets that the public was never supposed to know. In the midst of it all, Mendeecees broken and helpless demand answers. Keep watching because what we've discovered will leave you stunned. The intensive care unit's cold, sterile air was filled with the steady beeping of the heart monitor, hummed IV drips, and a low murmur of nurses and doctors surrounded the hospital bed where Yandy Smith lay motionless, her skin pale, her lips dry, her body unnaturally still. Mrs. Harris stood frozen at the doorway, his breath stopping. Took a tentative step forward, his hands shaking at his sides, convinced that this couldn't be real. Yandy, the powerful, unstoppable force that had kept their family together, was now fighting for her life, and his heartbeat thundered in his ears. She was covered in wires, had an oxygen mask strapped to her face, and her chest barely rose and fell beneath the crisp white hospital sheets. She didn't resemble the woman he had said goodbye to just hours before. A doctor, a man in his late 50s with weary eyes and a tight face, exhaled sharply. "Doctor, tell me what's wrong with her." "We're still running tests right now, and her vitals are unstable, and we don't know what's causing it," Mendy says. "But you don't know his no." Chizrak cracked, fist clenched. "You're a doctor. Doctor's supposed to know my wife is in there dying, and you were telling me we've ruled out a heart attack and a stroke. Something is attacking her body. We're waiting on the lab results." Mendy sees his head spinning. "How did this happen?" "Just this morning, Yandy was fine, laughing and talking about the kids while taking business calls as usual." "How did things go so wrong so quickly?" He turned back to his beloved Yandy, the mother of his children, the woman who had been his. He hissed for her hand and squeezed it gently, but it felt too cold, and the lump in his throat grew larger. His wife wasn't waking up, so the door burst open behind him, and his mother, Julie Harris, rushed in. The moment she saw Yandy in that hospital bed, a gasp left her lips, and her hands were aligned with her mouth. "Oh Jesus, no, Mick, no. They're my Caesar," and his face twisted with pain, and she simply collapsed out of nobody coughs. "What's wrong?" But Judy grabbed his hands. Her eyes were wild with fear, and Rose was shaking with emotion. How can someone heal lapsa and wind up in the intensive care unit? The doctor shook his head, his jaw clenched so tightly that it hurt. "I don't know, ma, but if something happens to her," his voice breaks. The doctor cleared his throat, "and we're doing everything we can. But for now, we need to keep her stable, her ostable. Those are low, and she is low," responding. Judy shook her head, her face twisted in panic, saying, "No, this isn't happening. He was no longer paying attention, and then a loud alarm from one of the machines made him snap to attention. What was that? The doctor's face turned grim, and nurses hurried to the bed to check the IVs. He lunged IVs. But a nurse blocked him, saying, "Sir, you need to step out. I'm not leaving her." His roar reverberated throughout the room, and another alarm went off. The doctor's face tightened, and she was in respiratory distress. Her breathing was unstable, and she was crashing. Mendy noticed that her blood had turned to ice. The doctor says. He was sharp, and the nurses rushed to get her on a ventilator. Before MD could react, a nurse grabbed his shoulders and pushed him out of the room. The door slammed shut, and then there was silence. VC stood frozen, his breath ragged, his heart hammering, and Judy clutched his arm. What if she doesn't make it? You believe I wouldn't discover that Papa's voice was cracking. Remy's thoughts was racing with sorrow, anger, and uncertainty. She had always trusted him more than anyone else in her life and had always believed in the power of their love, but now it appeared as though none of that mattered. She took a deep breath to attempt to calm herself and ask herself why her with a tinge of vulnerability in her voice. She murmured gently, "Why me, all people?" Although Remy Popo acknowledged that she is a strong woman and that we had a deeper connection, she felt as like she was losing already because you are my heart and I don't want heart lose you. How did something so wonderful come apart so quickly? How had she not anticipated it? She uttered her words in a bitter and final whisper, disconnected the conversation, and flung her phone onto the couch before falling to her knees and sobbing across the room. Time seemed true as she knelt there, drowning in the pain of betrayal. After so long, she had thought that love and loyalty would be enough to keep everything together, but now it felt like everything was falling apart in her hands. When the foundation of everything had been destroyed, Remy knew she was stronger than this and that she would rebuild her life, even if it meant doing so without the man she thought she would spend her entire life with. Pat used to visit me every day. For the first day, it came every day without fail when you were in a match, but on weekends they vary a little. On those days, I would just unwind while he was here. He would drive up there every day on Saturdays and Sundays, and depending on traffic, his journeys took anywhere from 45 to an hour. 45 minutes, I had to reassure him that everything was fine. I suppose that when people inquire about me, some claim that I'm a murderer and discuss my attitude, but I don't mind. I've worked hard for all I own, and nobody gave it to me. Anything the girl loaned. My number, and I can't believe she did that. She also leaked your number. Oh my God, your real number. At this point, you could give me just $1, and I would put my phone down. That's all. It has nothing to do with anything else. It's just about respect. I'm a businesswoman, so don't leak my number. I earned it with everything that's happened recently. I can't help but wonder how much it would cost for someone to enter the ring with me. Number, why would anyone? Oh, that. She ought to have approached me directly, saying, "Hello, this is Barbara." However, she is too young to realize that she is not in the boxing world, and I have thought Pipo is a decent man. Though Remy wants him back despite the fact that he's already moved on with someone else, Papoose waited for her as if she were in prison. I wish I had a boyfriend like him. The words she had just read were beginning to blend together as Remy sat in the living room, gazing at her phone. Her heart raced as phone raced, and she silently shed on radiator after another, as if each one were breaking her heart even more. Her husband, Papoose, had just confirmed something she wasn't prepared to hear, and it felt like a deep betrayal. Then her phone buzzed again, and it was a message from a close friend. "Did you see what's happening with Popo and Clarissa Shields?" He just talked about it in an interview. The message hit her like a slap. She had heard rumors before about things that didn't feel right, but she always pushed them. Apart from that, she bet them. She could still hear Popo's voice telling her in every conversation that she and he were untouchable, but now those words felt like falsehoods. There was no way he would betray her. They were solid. The silence around her was deafening as Remy got up from the couch and began to pace. She was trying to digest what she had just read, but her breathing was shallow. Her thoughts returned to the previous several months. Papoose had appeared far away during the late night calls, yet occasionally night calls screamed that something intuition, but she chose to ignore it because she believed she was overanalyzing the situation. After all, who would have imagined that her partner in everything, her best friend, and her rock would betray her trust? Her phone buzzed again, this time a blog post notification, and she clicked on it with shaking fingers. The headline said at last, "Popo reveals his relationship to boxing champion Clarissa Shields with fans are shocked when he talks candidly about their relationship." The post included an interview in which Papoose "I've been spending a lot off Papoose with Clarissa. She's a wonderful woman. Things are tricky, but we're seeing where this leads." He described her as a true champion and spoke about their developing bond. His words were kind and warm, and then it was in black and white. The words, "seeing where this goes," made Remy's chest tighten as she read them. It was like a kick to the stomach. How did he see all those years together? How easily could he throw away their marriage, their family? Her phone rang again. When Papoose called, she froze. Unsure of whether to respond or let him explain. Her palms shook as she picked up the phone. Remy said hello in a strained, nearly whispery voice. Remy's uncertainty filled the phone as Papa's voice said, "I've been trying to reach you. We need to talk." She gripped the UB tighter, her eyes threatening to well up again, but she forced herself to hold back the tears. She needed to know why everything had changed and why he was treating her this way. "You want to talk?" she asked, her voice ascending. There was stillness on the ascending, and she could hear him breathing slowly as if he was trying to find the right words. "You've been talking to Clarissa, correct? That's what you've been doing, spending time with her, getting close, and now you're confirming it, telling everyone about it." "Remy, pay attention," he said in a softer voice. "That it's not what you or she believed." She sensed the rage building inside of her. "You've been lying to me, saying that everything we've worked for and everything we've accomplished together is for nothing." "I haven't been lying. It's con nothing. You don't understand everything. I never wanted to hurt you. I promised that I never wanted it to be this way." But Remy's heart was already cracking. Papa's voice grew softer, nearly disappearing. Her voice was shaking as she said, piece by piece, "I don't understand." "How do I understand, Papoose? You've been seeing someone else, someone you care about, and you thought I wouldn't notice." "Please, Remy," he said in a desperate tone. "This wasn't supposed to go public. I didn't want this to hurt you." She had always trusted him more than anyone else in her life, had always believed in the strength of their love and unity, but now everything seemed pointless. She took a deep breath and tried to calm herself before asking, "Why Clarissa?" with a hint of vulnerability in her voice. "Why her of all people? I don't know." Papa acknowledged that people, a strong no, and that we have a stronger connection. "But you are my heart, Remy, and you mean the world to me." She whispered, "Don't want to lose you, me." Remy was already losing him. "You've already lost me." She hung up and hemmed her phone onto the couch before collapsing to her knees, her sobs filling the room. She had spent so much time believing that love and loyalty were enough to keep everything together, but now it felt like everything was falling apart in her hands, and time seemed to stop as she knelt there drowning in the tears. The hurt of betrayal when the foundations. Everything was destroyed. There was no more pretending or attempting to make things work. Remima realized then that she was stronger than this and that she would rebuild, even if it meant doing so without the man she had assumed she would be with forever.